Barrett. I teach history, but I'm assistant head teacher for pastoral care.
What is the most frequent problem students have with exams?
Stress, definitely, and the feeling that there's too much work to do in too little time. That can come from organisation, and often most of the worry is unfounded. But I'd definitely say stress for exams and worry about achieving the grade that they'd like to would be the main concern.
How does the school help students with coping with stress?
I think first and foremost, in any stress and any matters, really the job of the subject teacher. They're the people that deliver the work, and therefore that's where the conversation should be with the student and the teacher to resolve any worries. Other than that, then you'd hope the form tutor picks up some of those concerns, and that the dialogue, the conversations between form tutor and student are going on. And then you've got the rest of the pastoral team who are in place, where if the student feels that it's not happening in the subject or it's not happening in form, they can then go to the people in the pastoral team and say, I need some extra help.
Is there anything that you find unfair about the current exam system?
I think exams are unfair because they're a certain full stop. They test a certain thing, and that is knowledge and ability against the clock. And I think it's a real shame that we, in most of the exam boards, cannot use other means to test people. I think it's a shame that teachers can't be used as an authority on giving a grade and a judgment in some areas, not all, but some areas. So I would say that the written form to answer an exam, which is what most subjects rely on, is unfair, because it's not just the written form, it's also against the clock, and I think that's, sometimes to an awful lot of humans, an unfair way of testing.
So do you think coursework or something like it would be a better alternative or not?
A good mixture of, but certainly for some students it would be far better to have 100% coursework. It would be lovely if we could actually judge the examination technique on the student. So for students with learning difficulties, it would be a different approach. To students that might have been gone for a difficult time, a different approach for them. So it would be nice if we could do it like that, but we can't under the current system.
Do you think that students' lives outside of school are taken into account, even though they might have issues you don't know about?
I think they're always taken into account by staff, but then you sit with your mark book, you go into the classroom and you see what children should achieve, and you see the potential and the expected grade, and then I think it's difficult sometimes to actually balance that properly. So you are very wary of what children should achieve at all costs. And sometimes you forget that we are, teacher-student relationship, but actually you have a life outside school and so do we, and I think we lose touch of that sometimes.
As a student, you can only have two of the following: sleep, a social life, and good grades. Do you agree with this?
No, you can have all of those things as long as there's a balance. And I think it's getting the balance and remembering that education is very important, but it is not more important than yourself and your health. I think it's getting the balance that's absolutely crucial.
Do you think students learn key life skills through their GCSEs?
Some skills, but certainly not all, and not enough. I think the GCSEs are too narrow and they are limited in the skills they can give, and I would say that mostly life skills are not taught as well as they should be or could be at schools, simply because the drive is for GCSE grades.
Did you learn key life skills, or did you just learn those as you got older?
No, to be honest, my GCSEs and my schooling was very much as yours is, actually. I think it was very much based on academic skills. I think life skills, I relied on my parents and my friends outside school, and the little bit of school input, the different things. I think my schooling was a little bit more relaxed in the sense that we would have more days out of education in terms of doing trips, doing different exercises. I think the pressure on schools now is so intense that those kind of extras and different things have gone, and I think that would be a main difference from when I went to school to you. I think it's more intense for you.
The media have constantly been informing us that GCSEs are getting easier. How close to reality is this judgment?
I think it's a million miles away from reality. I think students understand the GCSE better. I think teachers are teaching it better, and that's why we've seen better results. I don't think it's got anything to do with that GCSEs are easier. I think GCSEs are very challenging and sometimes too demanding, as we've discussed, but they certainly haven't got easier.
Do you think it's fair, though, not only for the teachers but also businesses, that everyone has to keep adjusting to the changing GCSEs and that businesses can't actually compare different years because they're always changing?
Yes, I do. I think it's not just unfair on businesses, although that's very relevant. I think it's very unfair on teachers who've been in the profession, and particularly unfair on students. What better scenario to have than a teacher that's very used to a GCSE, it's confident in teaching it and knows how to get the best out of students. If we change too regularly and we change for change's sake, I don't think that's to the benefit of anybody.
Do you think results will tumble with the new exam system then?
No, because I think it will be tested at a different level and different expectations. So I don't think results will tumble, although initially I would imagine teachers and students have to get used to something that is different. We're not obviously unused to that in teaching. That's something that, and schooling, that's something we are used to rapid changes. I don't think they'll tumble, but I think they will suffer.
What characteristics do you think make the best teacher?
Being calm, being organised, and a sense of humour.
We have a careers advisor to help students plot their future. There has been a mixed response to how useful they were. Do you think that students have enough information to set their mind on a career when choosing A-levels at only 16?
No, because I think the world changes at such a rapid pace, and what you need to be trained for and ready for changes so rapidly now that I think the old style, which we still have in most schools, nearly all schools, of a career advisor and giving you a 20 or 30 minute slot and that's your life sorted, is completely gone. It's almost to the point of it's a pointless exercise. It needs to be far more interactive, it needs to be far more student driven. Do you need an actual person now, or do you need a system that you can log on to help? I don't know, but I think it needs a thorough overhaul, and also I have to say it needs some money put into it as well.
It's quite interesting that you said that, because part of our project we've been looking at Do Explore, which is a website that allows students to look at careers opportunities. As a teacher, would you be interested in having this in the school?
Absolutely, because I think it would answer the problem that I've given you, that if I was to train to be a careers advisor, my knowledge would soon be elapsed pretty quickly, and I think a system which is updated regularly, and I'm talking really many times a year, would be far more appropriate.
It's hard for teachers as well as students. Do you sometimes put your stresses onto students?
Yes, and I think anybody that sits here and says no would have to maybe think about how their day goes. I think you do. I think what's important is that you make sure you acknowledge that to the student or students that you've probably snapped at or come across as slightly stressed to. It's very, very difficult not to be stressed. But I think as long as you know when you're stressed, and as long as you know when you've made an error of judgment and you speak to the student, you apologise if necessary, students understand that, because vice versa is true. Students are stressed, they sometimes have the wrong relationship with teachers. That's the working environment in which we're in.
As part of our project, we visited multiple businesses. Do you think this would be a good thing to have in the curriculum?
Yes, definitely. It's finding that time, but what the experience you've had is absolutely crucial in the sense that you've gone out into the real world and seen the people who may employ you in a few years' time, and you understand what they want in an environment in which is new to you. I think it's an invaluable experience. So yes, definitely, it's the time to do it for everybody, and to do it well is the challenge.
Thank you.
You're welcome.